Hello there, I'm DarkRiolu27. Welcome to my speedrunning guide for Kirby's Dream Land 3. In this video, I'm going to cover basic movement and techniques for Kirby. I'll be providing an input display so you can see which buttons are being pressed in order to perform the actions on screen. To start off, I'm going to explain all the things you can do to maintain running speed. Slopes don't affect your horizontal speed at all, so don't worry about trying to jump on them. Here's a comparison of running versus jumping on the same slopes. As you can see, there's absolutely no difference. The most useful method of clearing out obstacles in your path is going to be inhaling and exhaling blocks and enemies. However, if you try to do this normally, Kirby's going to stand still for a second and then start walking instead of running. The way to avoid losing time is by only eating and spitting things out while in the air. This can still work even if you want to inhale something on the ground, as you can jump just before reaching it or land on top of it to quickly end Kirby's inhale animation. If you do end up exhaling something on the ground, you can also jump to regain full speed instead of double tapping the D-pad. However, this doesn't work for inhaling. You do have to be holding right the entire time though, or you'll lose running speed either way. Swallowing something is always going to slow you down a bit, but you can still keep running speed if you do it in the air. If you didn't know, you can swallow things by pressing A, even in the air. The time it takes to swallow something is not always consistent, but using A is usually 3 or 4 frames faster than pressing down. Here's a comparison of the two. The clip on the left shows using down to swallow an enemy, and the one on the right uses A. Something else to note is that running into a wall will not force Kirby to start walking, although it does if he's with an animal friend. Also, if you're curious, Kirby's hitbox doesn't seem to change while he's holding something in his mouth, at least not by much, so you shouldn't need to worry about spitting it out until you need to fly, destroy something, or go through a door. As you can see, Kirby can fit into small gaps despite being 4 times his normal size. Lastly, sand is going to slow you down unless it's moving the same direction as you, so if you ever find yourself on sand, constantly jump to maintain full speed. However, there are some floors that look like sand, but don't actually have its properties. Now, jumping is going to be the main method for dodging enemies as Kirby, but there isn't as much to say about it. There are still some quirks you need to know about. For instance, Kirby only has 3 different jump heights. These jumps can vary by a couple pixels, but it may not be possible to jump a specific height or distance. This can actually be helpful though, because you can land on the same spot every time without holding jump for an exact number of frames. All you need to know is which jump you want. The timing's a little tight, but you should be able to get the correct jump almost every time with practice. Here's a comparison of the 3 jumps. If you're interested in the specific numbers, you have to hold B for 1 to 4 frames to do a small jump, 5 to 8 for a medium jump, and at least 9 for a full jump. Additionally, if you exhale something while still holding the jump button, Kirby will automatically do a full jump whether you want him to or not. This can get you into trouble in certain situations. If you need a smaller jump, make sure to fully let go of B before pressing Y. Jumping can also allow you to do 2 other things, headbutting and bouncing off enemies. Headbutting allows you to move enemies out of the way. It makes you start falling immediately so that you can contact the ground sooner, and it destroys blocks. If Kirby is falling for at least 2 tiles, the height of a medium jump, he will bounce off of most enemies he lands on instead of getting hurt by them. This doesn't work if he has something in his mouth though. This technique can be useful if you want a little bit of extra distance on a jump, or are trying to get past an enemy that you don't want to suck up. Another technique to go fast is sliding in certain situations. Sliding is nice because it can destroy star blocks and move enemies, so it can allow you to quickly get through sections that would be difficult or slow to platform through. When you slide, you move faster than running, but ending the slide takes so long that it's better to run under most circumstances. However, you can avoid having to stand back up in 2 ways, by sliding over a gap or by grabbing an animal friend. Sliding over gaps is finicky and only makes Kirby automatically stand up if he's a certain distance from the gap when you start sliding. Here, Kirby can slide again immediately once he crosses the gaps, but here he sometimes finishes the slide and sometimes ends it instantly. Sliding into animal friends can always save time. It may be only a couple of frames, but Kirby gets into the door sooner on the bottom since he slid into pitch. Two more things. It's possible to slide on semi-solids, as I just demonstrated, if B is pressed very soon after down, but if you ever press B and down on the exact same frame, Kirby will jump instead of sliding. The same is true if you're holding the down button and you jump on the frame Kirby hits the ground. Notice that I'm holding the down button for the entire time here, but when I press B, Kirby sometimes jumps and sometimes slides. The last bit of speed tech is actually something you want to avoid doing, floating. When floating, you lose all of your momentum, Kirby moves very slowly, and the animation of puffing out air takes way too long. There are only a few ways to skip that animation, such as by joining up with an animal friend or taking damage, so avoid floating whenever possible. The next few tips are all about how to get through doors quickly. There's actually a surprising number of things to take into account, considering all you need to do to enter a door is press up. As I just mentioned, floating should usually be avoided, as doors won't cancel the puff animation. However, if you have to float, you can cancel this animation manually by exhaling once in front of the door and pressing up immediately after. This will allow you to go through the door before Kirby finishes exhaling. Without this technique, it takes about 8.89 seconds to get through this set of doors normally. Now, I'll go through the same set of doors, but using puff canceling. Notice how quickly Kirby turns through the door if he exhales beforehand. Doing it this way, you can save a few tenths of a second. Another animation not avoided by door entry is that of spitting something out. If you have something in your mouth and you go into a door, Kirby will waste a good second or so spitting it out before even starting to go through. You can do the same thing here and press Y just before entering the door. If done correctly, the star Kirby spits out will freeze in place instead of flying off the screen. Also keep in mind that doors take a second to load, so it's possible to fly right past one while holding up if it's close enough to you when you enter the room. The last tip is one that very few people are aware of. Not many know that entering a door with an animal friend is significantly slower than going through it with just Kirby or Gooey. As shown in this comparison, every animal friend has a longer animation and takes longer to enter the door than Kirby by himself. You can do two things to minimize this time loss. First off, detach from animal friends as soon as you're done with them. One way to do this efficiently is by going in front of the next door, pressing X, and then pressing up on the same frame or the frame after. This doesn't work with Ku or Kine. Since this is only a 2-frame window, it can be difficult to master. If you can't seem to get it down, just leave the animal friend as soon as you're done with them. The second method involves using Gooey. Have Gooey go through the door or grab the animal friend so that Kirby can go through. Keep in mind that having Gooey out can change enemy spawns and mess up other things as well, so this isn't ideal in every situation. That's it for the first part of this speedrunning guide. Next time I'll be covering how to fly with Ku and swim with Kine. If you're interested in running this or any other Kirby games, feel free to join the Kirby Speedrunning Discord. I'll provide a link in the description below. You can go there and ask questions about any Kirby game. Everyone's really nice and will try to help you. Thank you so much for watching, and keep an eye out for part 2, which will hopefully be uploaded sometime soon. I'll also link that in the description when it comes out.